welcome back to our channel. Today's video is a what's for dinner. I don't think I filmed one of these before, but I thought it'd be something fun to try and see how you all liked it. If you did, please let me know down below if this is something you would like to see more of. And if you're new here, my name is Hannah. We'd love to have you. If you would like to hit that subscribe button and stay around. I try to make different types of videos. I do cleaning, cooking, even some vlogs ever so often, and just kind of whatever I can think of. If I want to film it, I will. So I hope you all stick around, and let's go ahead and get started with the video. It is Monday, and that's the first day we're starting with, and tonight we are having lasagna. So we're also going to be having a salad with our lasagna and breadsticks. So what I just got done cooking was I made some homemade croutons, and then I made some bacon for our salad. I have made homemade croutons before, but it's been a long time. I don't even think Jacob was born yet. But I knew we were going to have a salad, and I knew I didn't have any croutons, and I kind of wanted a little more. I wanted to up the salad a little more tonight. Not so just like salad and cheese and ranch, you know. I kind of wanted it to be a little more. So I made some croutons and then fried up some bacon. Those are some things I had on already in my fridge. So, or the bread I had in the cabinet, and the bacon I had in the fridge. So something that was super simple and easy, quick to do. So I will show you that with my croutons. I just cut up some bread. I had some bread in there from last week that kind of needed to go because I bought fresh bread today. So I just cut up that old bread, melted some butter, put some garlic powder, onion powder, parsley flakes, and salt. And then I just, tossed them in the butter and baked them at 375 for about 20 minutes. And then I just fried up some bacon, and I'm going to chop that up, and that will be for our salad. So now for the lasagna, I have already browned the meat and everything, and I'm just going to layer it. Now I do have like a detailed video of like the recipe and how I make my lasagna on my channel. So I will have that link below in the description box. It's super easy to make, and it's one of those things like a go-to meal, especially on a Monday night when you're trying to get back in the swing of things for the week ahead. So here you are going to see me squeezing out the cottage cheese mixture out of a Ziploc baggie, and if you will watch the video that I just talked about, it will explain in there why I am doing this. I had made this recipe, or this lasagna a few weeks ago or so, and I usually cut the cottage cheese mixture in half and freeze what's left, and for this night I was able to use what I had froze previously, so it came in really handy on this night. Alright, for night 2 we are having what we call thin fried chicken. It is a super simple and easy dinner to make. Basically what you do is you slice up some chicken breast, and I like to get that as thin as possible, and then I will coat them in flour and then dip them in the egg wash, or what you want to call it. I beat up a couple eggs, and then I will coat them in the breadcrumbs, and I use Italian breadcrumbs, and then I add some Parmesan cheese to those breadcrumbs, and then I will just fry it up in some olive oil and butter until they are cooked through. And like I said, super simple, super easy, and this is one of our favorites. It's actually Brent's favorite. It's a staple in our household. for our sides, we are having mashed potatoes and corn, and mashed potatoes are super simple to whip up. You just boil some potatoes until they're cooked through, and then mash them in butter, and then add some heated milk to them, and just make sure they are nice and blended. And like I said, just really easy to do. And then for our corn, I just heated some frozen corn up in the microwave and added some butter and salt, and then I made some gravy just from like a gravy packet. It wasn't homemade or anything, and I made mine into like a chicken fried steak, and then Brent just dipped his in some barbecue, and Jacob ate his plain. For dinner tonight, we are having meatloaf, and I am doing the meatloaf out of the Magnolia Table cookbook. And I probably won't show like exact measurements or everything like that because it's probably copyrighted and I probably shouldn't, but I am gonna just go ahead and like show you me putting it together and everything, like just be, you know, putting all the ingredients in and, you know, all that stuff. And I do it a little bit different than what she has in the cookbook, because the first time I made it, I didn't have the same crackers as she had, so I used what I had. And then the second time I made it, I think I had forgot some ingredients at the grocery store, so I just modified it to what I had again at home. So I do it a little bit different, but it's mainly the same recipe. So I will just show you me putting that together, and then we are also having macaroni and cheese and green beans. And now for the meatloaf. I feel like meatloaf is something that you can do pretty much whatever you want with. You could do like add onions to it, add green peppers to it. That's what my aunt does. You could just do anything. It's pretty straightforward with meatloaf. Like anything works. When we first got married, I used my mom's recipe, and I don't know, it's not much different from this one, but this adds a lot of different stuff that she didn't have in hers. And then I started using like the onion soup mix packet in it. And then I got the Magnolia Table cookbook, and so I found this recipe in it, and I've been using this one ever since, and it's by far my favorite. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the salted onion in it or what, but it is, like I said, one of my favorites. And this is what I just cook from now on. So if you want the full recipe, I highly suggest you get her cookbook and check it out. If you have a cookbook, and then if you haven't cooked this recipe, definitely dig in there and cook it if you like meatloaf. So for our sides tonight, I am just doing this macaroni and cheese. Honestly, Jacob eats this the best. I've done others and he'll eat that, but this is just, he eats this really good for me when I make it, which I know is probably terrible for him, but you know, whatever, he likes that the best. So, and macaroni and cheese is not necessarily good for you anyway, so if you're gonna have it, you might as well have what they like. And then we're having some green beans, and these were canned by my husband's grandma. And then I put this in my green beans, and I just used half of a packet because 1 packet per can is just way too strong, so I will half it. So I will put the rest of, I've already used half of it already, and for tonight I will use the rest of it with that can of green beans, and I will just heat them up on the stovetop. I've got my green beans heating up, and then I'm heating up some water for the macaroni and cheese, and I will cook the noodles and add the cheese, and that's ready to go. And then all these really do is gotta heat up and boil some. Okay, now for the meatballs. I have 2 different recipes. I have a recipe for the meatballs and then a recipe for the sauce, because the sauce recipe, it didn't really have a recipe for meatballs. It just said to use frozen ones, which I prefer to use, or just to make homemade meatballs. So that's what I did. I used this recipe, and I am just taking an onion. It's a small onion, and I'm just dicing it up as small and fine as I can. Very small dices of onion, because you don't, unless you like big chunks in your meatballs, but I know Brett does not, my husband does not like onions, so I cut them very small. And my eyes were watering horribly here, so it looks like I don't know how to cut up onions, but I do. And then I already put the garlic powder in, but it wasn't recording, so I did a teaspoon of garlic powder, or 2, I think I did 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. And then I am doing 2 tablespoons of parsley flakes, or what I have left of the parsley flakes. And then I think I used 1/4 cup of Italian breadcrumbs. A 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And 1 egg. And then you're just going to mix all that together and make sure it gets nice and combined. And then I just kind of start using my hands, because that is honestly the best way to make sure everything gets mixed in. Because if sometimes like you will have like a chunk of breadcrumbs in one area, and you can kind of fill that with your hands and know, okay, this needs to get mixed more. So, and then we're just going to roll them all out into balls and bake them. So here they are out of the oven, and you guys, we had something come up, so we're not going to be able to eat these tonight. So I'm going to let these cool off, and then I'm going to put them in the refrigerator. And in the morning, I'm going to get up and make the sauce and put them in the crock pot. And then I'll have dinner easy and ready to go tomorrow night. Now on to the sauce. This is a recipe I'm using for the sauce, and I will have all the recipes that I can have linked down below. So the meatball recipe and the sauce recipe will be linked down below. Okay, you're going to need 2 cups of brown sugar, and I know that sounds like so much, but honestly, it makes the recipe or the sauce taste so good. And she does say that in the recipe that it sounds like a lot, but you'll want the full 2 cups, and you really do. Like, it does make it taste so good. So keep that in mind when you're making this, that this is not necessarily a healthy recipe, but it is very good. And then you're going to do a 1/2 cup of white vinegar. You can also do apple cider. I've done that before because I didn't have any white vinegar, so whatever you have on hand. And then you're going to do a 1/2 cup of water. And now we are doing 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and then we are also going to do 3 tablespoons of ketchup. And then 3 tablespoons of flour, and you're just going to whisk that all together until it's all combined and there are no lumps or chunks left of the flour. We are just going to take the meatballs that we made the other day, and we're going to add them to the crock pot. And then after we add those to the crock pot, we are going to add our sauce to the crock pot. And I'm going to turn it on high and let it cook on high for about 1.5 hours or so. And then I will come back and turn it down to low and let it cook for another hour or so, just so the sauce can thicken. Really quick what the meatballs look like. I had it on high for about 1 hour, 1.5 hours or so, and then I turned it down to low just to kind of, I didn't want it to be on too high for too long because I didn't want it to overcook them and just burn and all that stuff. So I took it down to low, and I kept it on low for about 1 hour, and then after that I took it down to just keep warm. And let's set this over here in the sink. And then this is what they look like. And I'm just going to serve them over rice and some peas. And they smell delicious, like my house smells amazing. The peas that I use, I love these peas. They're my favorite. I don't really use anything else. So I'm just gonna cook these or heat these up on the stove with some butter and salt, and then that will be our peas, and I will just make up some white rice. And here it is all finished. I just took some of that sauce from the meatballs and put it on my rice, and that's it. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. We'd love to have you, and we'll catch you next time. Bye!